Hi, I'm Craig, film enjoyer living in England, and um, hello again. I'm back. It's the 100th time I returned to the show, so that's some sort of anniversary. Yay!
Huzzah!
Ooh.
I'm Kevin Matthews, Scottish film family in England, and this past week I spent some time putting a lot of WD-40 and extra lubricant coating the lovely revolving doors that we have just for Craig. Just butter along the edges, and then get rid of the squeaks and creaks. And well, that's just on Craig's knees, but then we get the door ready as well.
I'm Tyler Hosley, and this week I learned that Florida's weather is about as bipolar as a woman's mood.
I'm Dave Gray, and this week I learned if it ain't broken, you can fix it anyway, and then it will be broken. And this is Raiders of the Podcast.
Yay.
That's just a comment on my skills fixing things, which I like. Do you guys do this?
You're the most skilled amongst us in that respect, I'm sure.
Do you buy like something new and then you take it apart just for fucking giggles?
Good Lord, no, I don't do math.
You're the only man with anything approaching a manly skill set out of all of us.
Okay, so just
you put a bowl, a box of cereal, and a bottle of milk in front of me, and I'm panicking. Like what? No, I don't do any of that.
I've been stumped by the toys in Kinder Egg surprises. That's my level. I'm like, I don't have a toolkit for this.
So I had
throwing two-piece jigsaw puzzles across the room. Just no, fuck this shit.
My cat knocked I have a giant, those big Stanley cups.
Yeah.
It's like it's styled like that, but it's not the Stanley brand because it has Scooby-Doo on it. It only cost me $20, but it keeps things warm about as long as the Stanley does. So suck it. And it was full of coffee, and my cat knocked it onto my keyboard the other day. So I had to take that apart, like completely, and clean it. And I guess I took me too long, or I missed a spot, so it corroded, so it didn't work. So I had to go buy a new one. And the first thing I did when I got home was I took apart the new keyboard also, just to see how different they looked on the inside. So that's just me then. Y'all don't do that, huh?
Oh, yeah. Mm-mm.
Okay.
That's the cat you rescued, yeah? The lovely little stray kitten that you rescued.
I mean, that was a while ago now. She's now a large bastard.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. That cute little cat nowadays is just going about your home being like, fuck this Stanley Cup, fuck that computer, fuck this stack of discs.
She is. And like she'll be really sweet and she'll sleep next to me at night. But if like say my hand grazes her, she then like makes me bleed. My hands are just so covered with little cuts from wanting to love my cat. I don't have any healthy relationships. It's all abuse. Anyway,
I don't abuse you.
Yeah, okay.
Much.
Yeah, right. Okay, there we go. This week, you know what I saw? I saw Wildcat, the Ethan Hawke, Flannery O'Connor biopic. And I totally recommend that. That is a solid watch. It is as good as any biopic about Flannery O'Connor could be, which, I mean, take that as you will. Like it's not perfect. Like it tries to get into both her life and her inner life. It kind of doesn't quite get the balance right, but it does try, and I appreciate that. And the cast is excellent. The fact that Maya Hawke, who plays Flannery O'Connor in it, isn't nominated for like all the awards is kind of a crime, because she's easily one of the best performances I've seen in the past year. I mean, she's fantastic.
Nice.
And it is definitely worth looking up. I also watched Nosferatu, which I know some folks loved it, and I'm not gonna, say, "Oh, how dare you love it," because everybody enjoys things differently. But it didn't land for me. Like, it's beautiful to look at, like all of Eggers' stuff. I just had some issues with a lot of it. Like, I don't feel like it had as much to say as it's like. Okay, so this is a passion project, but it feels like the passion was for the image and not the story.
Well,
So,
I've got a thing with Eggers. Like, I love Eggers films, but I do believe that he is a frustrated production designer who
yeah,
needs to direct movies so he'll have complete control
yeah,
of the production.
I agree.
He's
Because
way more excited about putting them together than he is the story.
like there's a lot of yuck around the Nosferatu character, the design, and some things with it are very coded of a certain ethnic group, which is kind of and like the psychosexual stuff doesn't, like, okay, so a woman's having psychosexual fits, that's kind of and he's just a manifestation of her desire and her repression, and the plague is sex. It's all kind of muddled, and like it doesn't really have much to say about any of it. It's gorgeous, like it is beautiful. If I was like 400 pounds, I would have whole stills, from it tattooed on my flesh wall. But I'm not anymore, so that's not an option. It's just I want to like Eggers stuff more than I do a lot of the time. I loved The Witch. I liked the Lighthouse, but this one is just like, I see where you're going, but I don't think you know where you're going.
For me, The Lighthouse is in the competition for best of the century so far. I think that's so fantastic that he's clearly peaked with it. It's not.
I think as his budgets get bigger and his cast he needs to make friends with a scriptwriter, an actual writer who can, like tease the ideas out and get some dialogue that isn't atrocious. But again, like, I see why folks like it. It just didn't click for me, which is a shame because I watched it right after Wildcat, and I loved Wildcat so much, so I went in like full of goodwill for everything and everyone, and that went away.
How would you rate Nosferatu's cock, Dave?
I mean, it's more impressive than mine.
It's pretty. It is pretty impressive. I'll give him that.
I'll probably have random dreams about it as time goes on. But I mean, the thing is, that was spoiled for me. So the fact that he's then like heavily Jewish coded just makes all of it like worse.
Doesn't Nicholas Hoult like have a picture of it on his wall or something?
No, Nicholas Hoult has it on his wall.
Yeah,
the prosthetic. Nice.
Yeah, they mounted it for him.
That's something I would do.
It's just, I think the thing is, even the messed up cock, like a
Who
lot of
mounted it for him? Like
Eggers,
everyone.
yeah.
And he took it home.
It's just another bit that's kind of icky for a lot of the stuff they do with Nosferatu, and that's like, there's a lot of stuff going on that it's like, I don't know if that's intentional. And for somebody that does things so intentional, having a pretty heavily Jewish coded villain against some poor, sweet, innocent Germans is kind of, it's a choice. And I'm not saying, he's a racist or anything. I'm just saying it's a choice that I would not have made.
So I rewatched The Long Kiss Goodnight, which is probably my favorite Rennie Harlan movie. I love the cast. Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson are so good in it. The action is great. Shane Black's script is fucking solid. It's just an all-around solid mid-90s actioner. Probably one of the best of the era. I love that movie. It's so
Who's
much
the villain in it again? I forget his name, but he's so good in that.
shit, I forgot his name too. But yeah, that villain is great. It's probably one of the best Shane Black villains. He's so good in it.
I've that's got to annoy me now as well. Isn't he in like? I think I remember being in that and Scary Movie 3. Isn't he the Tom Cruise stand-in?
Yeah.
He is, yeah. That was
and
definitely the highlight of his career, The Longest Good Night.
yeah, he's great in it. But also, he was actually really good. I think he was on a few episodes of the late Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, and he was so much fun. It was a lot of fun.
Craig Bierko.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's Craig
there we go.
Bierko. I don't get why. Come on, guys. Come on.
Oh, he was really good in the Scary Movie movies, though. Like, he was funny as heck. He was the only good thing about Scary Movie 4. He was great in it. That Oprah scene when he's making fun of Tom Cruise on the couch is fucking hysterical. But besides that one, I was on a Shane Black kick, but that I was not planning. I rewatched The Last Boy Scout, which I also love. I love Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans in that. I mean, they both play off each other so fucking well. And again, the action is great. Tony Scott, man, he's a fucking legend. And it's got Halle Berry as a stripper, which makes my nether regions tingle. So yeah,
The opening scene of that film is the best thing Shane Black connected ever. The opening scene is just awesome.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
Especially if you've ever had to do Thai Bo, I imagine.
Bruce Willis was, man, when he cared, Bruce Willis was fucking awesome, and he's so awesome in that movie. He's just so good. It's a really good movie, and besides that, it's just been a bunch of TV stuff. So yeah, that's it.
I didn't watch loads this week, but I got a few done, and I mean, look, this evening. Oh,
I was just thinking, T. You say you didn't watch loads. I was thinking, yeah, T probably did. watch a bunch of loads. Just feeling very, very childish. Apologies.
But speaking of loads, I watched. I finally watched Blonde, and I can't recall if you've all watched Blonde.
I have. That's the Marilyn Monroe.
I've seen Blonde.
I love Dominic, and I was desperate for a fourth film, and now I'm not even interested in his fourth film. It's weird.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Blonde is awful. It's really bad. Anna de Armas I mean, she's great. I think she's genuinely great in it. So her magnificent performance is in this just really shit film, and for me the problem is just the whole approach to the subject matter, because whatever may have been sort of going on behind closed doors, I think the thing about Marilyn Monroe is that, you know, it is her image. She was the sex kitten, but it was presented at that time in the way that seems much more tame nowadays, whereas Blonde is this very in your face, brazen, I would say gratuitous approach to it, and it just like it feels ill-judged at every turn, apart from the casting of Darmus in the main role. Oh, I did like is it Bobby Cannavale as his turn as Joe DiMaggio is decent as well, but it's I'd heard people complain about it already. Like Craig, didn't Stephanie have an especially vitriolic reaction to it?
She won't watch the film because of her hatred of the book.
Right. Yes.
So, yeah.
Fair enough. And yeah, I mean, having now seen it, I would advise her to continue trying to forget that the film even exists. I just think it's.
Thanks for fucking that, bud. Thanks.
Like it's, what is it, 2 hours 40 minutes as well of just, you know, kind of unrelenting use and abuse of this young woman, which you know, as we know more and more, and nowadays compared to when she was lighting up the screens in there, may be a true portrayal of her life for the most part. But there are just, you know, there are better ways to handle it, I think, and to,
Of course, it's
like, just
not
to do
a
it.
true portrayal of her life. Just
No,
putting that out there.
I've heard already a lot of shit spoken about the book, but I just mean, like, in general, with, you know, we know there were bad times behind the scenes, and she struggled. I can't recall that film that I enjoyed with, is it Michelle Williams? Is that just called My Week with Marilyn?
Yeah.
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 Like, I liked, I didn't love it, but I liked that one, and that one just, you know, it generally handles things a bit better in showing, you know, the sadness behind the star at that time. So yeah, anyway, I'm late to the party, and it was a bad party, and people had already pissed in the punch bowl.
My Week with Maryland is such a better movie, and it's only like an hour 40. You could watch that twice and still have a nap in between, and Tyler will still be jerking off to Blonde.
Yeah. I mean, and no offense to Michelle Williams, who's great, but if you had My Week with Marilyn and you could have that performance from Anna de Armas in it as well, that would have been like just a fantastic Marilyn Monroe film that you could watch and have no need for any others. It would have been great. Now, I watched The Killer's Game, and it's one of those that made me resent my easygoing approach to seeing some stuff pop up and think, oh, that'll do. The Killer's Game has Dave Bautista in it, has Sophia Boutella in it. I mentioned because I know Tyler likes her, as I do usually. But it's like, it's so tired and awful. So Dave Bautista's a hitman, right? He falls in love with a woman, Sophia Boutella. Let's see if you can guess where this is going. He finds out he is terminally ill. So obviously he hires lots of people to kill him, or he puts a contract on himself. And then what do you know? No,
He's not going to die. Yeah, they tell you that in the trailer.
Yeah. And of course, everyone's out to get him, and all these different killers. So I mean, Dave, you gotta love this because it's not been done before. They've kind of got their own little flair, their little style, which is usually shown with whatever music accompanies them in a scene. That's it. So
Ooh,
you know,
at least
totally,
they spent money for musicians.
Well, it's yeah, it's just really, really bad. And I mean, even the soundtrack, there are some good songs on it, but some of those songs have been used in much better movies. I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I wish I was watching so and so instead. It's really bad. And I didn't even mind Scott Adkins putting on a dodgy Scottish accent. He's acting with someone else, and they're a pair of mean Scottish brothers, which was actually quite funny. But no, I cannot recommend that. And then I watched Grafted. Grafted is on Shudder.
Oh, I saw Grafted too. I forgot all about it.
Didn't mention it too late. Sorry, Dave. You're busy with your pilot.
Sorry, it just popped into my.
Grafted. Thank you. I prioritize. No, did you enjoy it?
I liked it. Okay, like,
Yeah.
I liked the cast. I don't know. It wasn't like horror enough, and it wasn't Mean Girls enough. It was just kind of like, it's fine. It's just, but you know, it's one of the better Shudder originals lately, though. So I mean, I'll give it that.
Yes, I'd agree with you. It doesn't quite make the Kevin 7 rating, but like, there was some good bits, but I kind of wish it done more with the idea. Like the main idea was a good one, and I thought could be well used. A really good opening scene. Then the setup's fine, and getting the different characters in place. But as you say, it doesn't really go full horror enough or into like full on Mean Girls mode, and it's just it was decent. And if this is the first feature, which I think it is, from the director Sasha Rainbow, then there's hopefully more good things to come from her. It's a bit silly when you see this pop up though already. Folk are on about it being like such a great body horror, and some people are saying, "Oh, this is the next The Substance." It's like, already calm down.
No,
let's
those
dial
people
things
are
back up.
liars.
Yeah, but there was enough there to like, and there were a couple of good moments. But yeah, I think we generally agree, Dave, on that one. And that is me. There's probably other stuff I've forgotten already.
Just not up to the high watermark of Blonde and Killer's Game.
Yeah, they will stay in my memory, not necessarily for the right reasons.
I watched. I'll tell you what. I watched two films this week, and I was like, I didn't expect them to be like thematically similar to each other, but they were, they were indeed thematically similar to each other. One was the feature-length conclusion to the Neon Genesis Evangelion series, and the other was Bertrand Bonello's 2024 sci-fi drama The Beast. Yeah, I was surprised by how much they had in common. I mean, one of them is kind of, kaiju wrecking Japan and all sorts of stuff like that, and the other is like era spanning kind of almost romance. So the connection is not really obvious, but they both feature leads who, at some point in the narrative, they're offered a life without pain and fear, which they've had plenty of in their lives. The deal being that the only thing they need to trade, in return for no pain, no fear, is their humanity. And are they going to cross that line? And they were both really interesting movies. I really enjoyed them both. But The Beast came out on top because it just spoke to me, because the Beast of the title, you'll know what it is once you see the film. It is just one I'm very familiar with, one who's who I've known for some time in my life. And yeah, it's when The Beast ended, I felt a bit sick, and I didn't want to watch another film for the rest of the day, which doesn't sound like a recommendation, but it is. I know Kevin wasn't too keen because I saw his scathing 2-star letterbox review. I think Tyler's seen it.
The Beast?
Yeah.
No, I have not seen that one yet.
Okay.
It's on his list because he also likes Léa Seydoux.
I do.
Yeah. Oh, she was fantastic. Really, 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 really good. And the male lead,
George
McKay. Yeah, he needs to stay away from like the cosplaying of like working class people, because when he's actually acting, he's very, very good. And I went to cinema. I hardly ever go to the cinema, and I'm going to go even less in the future, just to like spite Quentin Tarantino, because he's a little bitch. I went to the cinema and saw Presence, Steven Soderbergh's Presence. That was very okay, like really, really okay, but strongly okay. Like, I get that Steven Soderbergh is very into these, like, they're not so much films to him as they are like formal experiments, and sometimes that's good because you can be there with him, and sometimes not so much. This one works really well for the first 2/3 and then falls apart like really spectacularly in the third act. Like, it reminded me a lot of Ghost Story, by can't remember his name. It came out 5 or 6 years ago. It's one of my favorite films of the year. It reminded me of that because it uses, the horror, the haunting kind of framework to do intimate, small scale human drama. And they both do it quite well up to a point, but they also have the same issue, which is they both contain a scene of really fucking awful exposition. And whereas that scene in A Ghost Story is kind of a throwaway one that you can ignore, the third act is there's a scene of exposition in the third act which is so painful it flushes the whole thing down the toilet. I without telling you too much, there is a character who speaks on the concept, speaks on the subject of cling film for just far too long. He is far too excited by cling film and just the just the benefits and merits of cling film. Like it is the worst long passage of dialogue about cling film I have heard until Adam Sandler makes some sort of film about magic cling film, which I'm sure he'll do at some point. This guy's just going on about cling film, and it is just bizarre.
We're talking like Saran wrap?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's yeah. So you call it Saran wrap over there, but yeah, he's talking about that, and it's some of the worst dialogue I've ever heard, and it really, really, just ugly exposition in that third act, and the plot falls apart as well. It is full of holes, just absolutely full of holes, like a colander, like the colander in Adam Sandler's The Colander, which is probably coming out as well because he's still got a Netflix contract, I assume. So he's just Saran wrap and The Colander. Maybe that could be a maybe he could do a little animated thing. Saran wrap and The Colander. He can get one of his mates in, David Spade. I won't watch it. Kevin will.
How big is Julia Fox's role in that?
Very small. She's in it for about 2 minutes.
Oh fuck.
The rest of the cast are really good. Really good. Lucy Liu's really good. Her character is fucking awful human being, but Liu plays her really well. All the actors are really good, but the third act is a dumpster fire. Just fucking awful. And it's a shame because it undoes some solid work. And I also watched yesterday I watched Last Stop in Yuma County, which I thought would be very just a me film, and I don't know. It's very indebted to the 90s. It's indebted to the desert noir kind of thing that was big in the 90s. Indebted to Tarantino. Indebted to the Coen brothers. It's got a really, really good cast. I really like Jim Cummings. It's got that guy that Tyler likes, who's scary looking. Richard Brake, yep. It's got Gene somebody who he was in The Sacrament and he was in No Country for Old Men. Can't remember his name. It's just got a really, really strong cast.
Gene Jones, isn't it? Who gets that famous speech in No Country for Old Men from Anthony Sugar.
Yeah, it's a fantastic thing. Like, it's really strong cast, but the first half is just kind of a dud for me because the characters aren't set up well enough to like sell the tension. So I didn't really give a shit until everything went sideways, and it goes sideways pretty good. And it gets quite mean-spirited and enjoyable. And Jim Cummings, like, panicking is just a really enjoyable thing. But it's pretty average, I'd say. Just
Craig,
a Kevin 7.
You've reminded me of the other one that I watched, actually, this week with Vicky.
Okay.
And I think...
Well, it's too late. You know how we're doing this. You started this.
I think you've all seen it, though. Had you all already seen Strange Darling?
Yes.
I have, yes. I loved it.
You loved it?
I loved it, despite the plot being very, like, predictable. I just thought the female lead was spectacular. That's one of my favourite performances of the year.
She is, yeah. Tyler, you would really like it, I'm guessing.
Yes, liked it a lot.
Dave?
I haven't gotten around to it yet.
All right.
I know
I'll
folks keep
explain it.
talking about it, but I haven't had time.
I didn't love it, but I don't. It's kind of, for me, it felt like a no-win situation for the film. The way it's structured is the way that works, but also works against it. If you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that because Steve doesn't see it. But there was a lot to enjoy in it, and particularly the lead. Yeah. And, like, Vicky's a much harsher critic than I am. I'm mulling it over at the end, being like, yeah, I think I liked a bit of that, but I was hoping for more, but I could kind of see where things were going, because this and Vicky was just like, that was shit.
People
Like,
massively
okay.
oversold the plot twists in that film. It's very obvious where it's going, like, the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's just fun to go along for the ride. And that's
sorry.
like, and the performance of an actress who I thought was just a big old pile of meh for ages, and she freaking killed it in that one.
I can't recall if I've seen her much else.
She sucked in the Scream series. She was okay in the Reacher series, but she's phenomenal in Strange Darling.
Oh, that's why Tyler liked it. And anybody from the Scream series immediately gets a film bonus 5 points in Tyler land.
I do like that show more than anybody, actually. But yes, I do like that show.
Yeah, that's me and Kevin.
So one quick question before we move on, Craig.
Yes.
How long until you start rebuild of Evangelion?
I've got to do the 3 other movies, haven't I? They're reboots.
Yeah, that's rebuild 4. There's 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna like sit with the original storyline. Sit with that for a bit before I get to the new ones. From what I hear, the first part of the trilogy is pretty much just a nice looking HD reboot, and then it gets funky.
The first 2 cover a lot of the same ground and look awesome, but the second 2 are almost all new, and you know, they also tie into Shin Godzilla.
Oh,
because the fourth
I'm
one
looking forward to hearing Shinji scream and scream and scream and scream and scream.
Yeah, that happens. But there's a new character who's, I don't want to spoil it, so I'm just curious. I think Rebuild is interesting, and especially together. But anyway, what was I going to talk about? Oh, this week we watched the movie that Craig decided to cut me off at the kneecaps with the 1964 political black satire comedy Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Like, my brain, I just totally forgot how to say words for a second there. And
there are a lot of them.
There are a lot of them. We watched my pick, the 1991 Hong Kong martial arts splatter film Riki-Oh, The Story of Ricky.
I just want to make the point, I didn't wait for Dave to like pick Riki-Oh, which he loves dearly, and then thought, fuck Dave. I'm changing my mind. I just saw an article on Doctor Strangelove, and I thought, fuck, I love that movie, and just picked it because, spoiler alert, I love that movie.
Fun fact about Riki-Oh is that even though his name is Riki-Oh in the comic, it's not Riki-Oh in the movie. Kevin?
Yes.
Would you like to pick a movie and tell us about it?
Sure. I'll start with Dr. Strangelove because fuck Dave. This is the...
I wish more people would use that as their raison d'etre.
This is the 1964 really, really dark comedy satire from Kubrick, co-written by Kubrick and Terry Southern and Peter George, I believe, based on George's book Red Alert. And essentially what happens is someone has a bit of a funny turn and they're wanting to help launch nukes on Russia. People are then trying to stop that, and the fail-safe measures aren't necessarily working as well as they should. There we go. The main players are Peter Sellers, George C. Scott, Peter Sellers, Sterling Hayden, and Peter Sellers. And I'm also going to mention Slim Pickens and Peter Bull, who plays the Russian ambassador, Alexei. I'm mentioning Peter Bull now to remind myself of the moment that I was watching out for him cracking up when Peter Sellers is in full-on Dr. Strangelove trying to stop his like dodgy arm doing a Nazi salute and saying "Heil Hitler." And if you watch the crowd, Peter Bull is the one that, like, he's going, his smirk is going, and it's really funny. Anyway, there's a little anecdote with Doctor Strangelove. Like, I never actually fully watched this film until I think I was in my mid-20s. I don't think it's a film you need to rush to see if you're sort of getting into cinema, but you've got so many others you could be working through beforehand. I think you should be at a certain age where you can appreciate the performances of the cast. I'm not just saying Peter Sellers here because there are other people I want to praise in a moment. You can enjoy the fun of the script, and you can also really appreciate how that is alongside real horror. Like I watched this with an ex-partner of mine, and I enjoyed it, and I found it very funny, and it got to the end, and yeah, I was pleased. We were discussing it, and I kind of turned, and she was looking horrified, and I'm like, "Oh, did y'all like that?" And she was just already terrified. I thought they had that many different angles and different footage of mushroom clouds. Like that's a montage that she never really wanted to see, and I sat there, I was like, yeah, I suppose that's not really a great thing.
We did film a lot of them.
Yeah, and a lot of them are used here. Anyway, I think, I mean, it's hard to know what to say about this. Lots of people have already praised it. I think it's just like it's so good, and a large part of that is down to the casting of Sellers in different roles. I think a large part of that, because they're so different as well. Like, I love him as the polite and prim and proper Lionel Mandrake, who is trying to deal with a strange situation when he's trying to talk to the Brigadier General, played by Sterling Hayden, and try to like stop a disaster. And then later in the film, it is surreal and funny, but it's still very serious that he's just needing a phone to get through to the president and then change for a phone and all that's going on. So I think he's great there. I think he's wonderful as a president because he's just so much more composed and polite than you think anyone would be in this spiraling situation. And then Dr. Strangelove himself is the comedy monstrosity that he just has a lot of fun with. And they are all like very wonderfully different performances, showing his range and just like lifting the film.
You can make a very, very weak case that he plays Dimitri as well, just from the way he sets up those phone calls.
Yeah, and his interactions,
reacts to them.
I love his phone calls. Well, no, Dimitri. Well, no, nobody wants them. But you know, Hayden is very good in a role that's quite, you know, I would say quite. He would seem to be an odd choice for it, and yet he works really well. But George C. Scott is great, and I read up on this that I don't think he really got the film. Certainly not initially. I don't think he. I'm not sure if he wasn't aware of how it would all sort of come over when it was presented as the whole film, or whether he just like wasn't a fan of how it was all being done anyway, considering the subject matter. But it's a great performance. Like he's asked to, he overdoes things in a really, really fun and still slightly believable way. Because
It was
he's
suggested that Kubrick asked him to do like looser, like practice takes first, and then he kept all of those and used them all. And George C. Scott was furious until eventually he came to love it, and it's one of his favourite performances. But he was pretty pissed.
Yeah, it's just like it's just so much fun, and it would be easy for this film to just be the Peter Sellers show. That's the thing about it. That's why these other performances are so like they're so important, and they're also so impressively equal to what Sellers is doing in every scene. Like Hayden is great as the deranged Jack D. Ripper. Pickens has the iconic moment. Slim Pickens is here. He's just fantastic. He's not on screen for long, but he's just fantastic. Peter Bull, I think, is superb. But it's Scott that really, I think wins out. And if this had been a film in which the Peter Sellers roles were just played by 3 different actors, then Scott is walking away with the film and being the one that everybody talks about all the time. I think he does get due praise for it in subsequent conversations now, but a lot of people will always mention this as the Kubrick film with the Peter Sellers performances, and rightly so. But Scott is an equal to that. Did Scott do many other comedy roles? Like, I can't think of any, but maybe
Me neither.
I'm just a bit blank on his filmography apart from The Exorcist 3 and The Changeling in general.
Well, yeah,
and Hardcore, but I mean that's hardly a laugh a minute, is it?
I mean, he did The Hustler, the Paul Newman movie. That's a comedy. Angus, The Hospital, They Might Be Giants, which we watched that.
They Might Be Giants. Yeah, it's the one where he thinks he's Sherlock Holmes.
Right. The Yellow Rolls Royce.
Right.
Pals. Bank Shot, and there's at least like 2 or 3 others. Not like a ton. I mean, George C. Scott did an absolutely disturbing number of films, but
yeah,
at least a good, there's a good dozen.
Is he being comedic in The Hustler? I can't remember him in The Hustler.
Yeah,
but I know is that the first one about Fast Eddie?
Yes.
Right. Okay. I can't recall, but yes. Thanks for reminding me of They Might Be Giants, which I did enjoy, and he was wonderful in that. But like if you ask me who delivers great comedic performances in cinema, or who has done, I wouldn't be racking my brains and then saying, George C. Scott is on that list. But you watch this, you're like, George C. Scott is stealing a number of these scenes from Peter Sellers and another Peter Sellers. Like that is very well done, my friend. I think this is it's a great film, and it's right on the wire with being hilarious and yes, absolutely terrifying. And again, I think they changed at least 1 or 2 practices after this with how they deal with the nuclear weapon codes and fail safes that could have ended up going badly if old practices had still been in place. So that's a positive. It's great. I think it falls short of outright masterpiece just because of a few too many bits that are jumped to from here and there that save it from feeling as well polished and streamlined as it could be. Like the momentum, I think, should have been a bit stronger. It should have been a bit more of a full-on race against the clock. Whereas I do think there are a couple of scenes where you forget that there's a real serious countdown on, and folk are working against that timer. But other than that, it's just fantastic.
Well, the book is not a comedy. This is one of two end of the world nuclear devastation Cold War films released by is it Paramount in 1964. The other one was Failsafe, which was sued by the author of Red Alert for plagiarism when they were both new. How's that for fun little trivia? How's this one, Kevin? What was the fourth character Sellers was supposed to play?
God damn it, Dave! I did my research on this, and was it? No, it wasn't the one played by Slim Pickens, was it?
It was.
Dimitri?
Was it?
Oh.
He was supposed to play Major T.J. King Kong, the B-52 commander and pilot, but they changed their mind because he couldn't do a Texas or most American accents. So
Early on, I think Kubrick wanted. God damn it, what's his name?
Slim
I thought
Pickens.
Legendary John Wayne.
Yeah.
That would have been something.
I
don't think he would never would have got it though. He never.
No, well, and
it was
if
about.
you have John Wayne, you need John Wayne to be Major Ripper, Colonel Ripper, whatever, the guy that orders it, not the pilot. That's just me. That's that's who I'd hire, but whatever. Yeah, no, it's a classic for a reason. This watch filled me with more existential dread than normal because, it's the first time where we've had a sitting president who I'm pretty sure will press the button just because a TV reporter talks badly about him.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. It's the closest the doomsday clock's ever been to midnight, and you give us this. Thank you.
Greatly,
I'm not sleeping tonight.
So I had a little,
I think I know why I read so many articles on it before I chose it.
Yeah, that would explain it. I might have had a minor anxiety attack halfway through, but yeah, George C. Scott is great. Peter Sellers is great. Slim Pickens is great. Keenan Wynn is great in his little cameo part. Very solid character actor from back in the day. I'm not sure if we've actually covered any other movies with him, but he's definitely one of those. Did we do the 78 Superman? Because he was originally cast in that, but had to drop out. James Earl Jones is great in his little bit. I mean, there's nobody is bad in this film, but some people.
Keenan Wynn reminds me of in this, Dave, and you may know his name. That's why I'm rudely interrupting to say it. It's the guy that played the Doctor in The Hangover. He's a comedic actor who's been quite a few things, but I never remember his name. Joe, I mean, no.
Oh yeah. The Doctor was
like Keenan Wynn looks like him in this role.
Fuck, I am the only person I can think of from The Hangover at the moment is yeah.
It's none of them. Sorry.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, and I am just totally brain farting on it.
As long as you can see it in your mind, like
yeah, I can. I can
see that.
I can see it in my head. Matt Walsh.
Yes,
Matt
thank
Walsh.
you.
I knew it would come to me as I stood here going, but Sterling Hayden's great. Slim Pickens is great. Peter Bull is hilarious in his role. It's a good one. Of course, it's a good one. It is a classic for a reason. I don't have much to say about it because smarter people have spent, it came out in 1964, so 61 years ago, people have said much smarter things about it than I can say. But yeah, obviously, you should go watch Dr. Strangelove. Fucking Craig. I back-pocketed Riki-Oh for years to share it with my dear friend Craig.
I know, and you know
Fucking
I love
kneecap
it.
me.
Spoiler
I know.
alert again. No. Love it dearly. Spoiler alert.
I mean, Kubrick is the perfect pairing for Riki-Oh. I mean, he would have loved it. Kubrick is probably a big fan of it, right?
I bet you he did. He was working on a sequel for Dr. Strangelove for like 20, 30 years.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was about Dr. Strangelove knocking up a bunch of women in the bunker.
Damn, I would have loved that, actually. Yeah, Dr. Strangelove is amazing. Kubrick was just fucking firing on all cylinders with this one. For the era, he was just light years ahead of so many other filmmakers when it came to just dabbling in different genres. I mean, this is such a brilliant yet like crazy, cynical satire. It's funny, well written, cast is fantastic. Peter Sellers and George C. Scott are fucking amazing. I was never a fan of the Pink Panther. It's just not my kind of flick. But when I saw Sellers' performance in Lolita, I was instantly sold. I loved him in that movie, and he's even better here. But what's crazy watching this now, a Cold War satire should feel dated. And sure, not all the humor completely holds up in 2025. But in the world we're living in right now, it actually does feel pretty topical, which is insane to think about and fucking terrifying at the same time. But I love how the script takes something as horrifying as nuclear war and can make something funny like this movie, which is honestly like a masterclass in fucking tone. I mean, the script here is great. I wouldn't say it's my all-time favorite Stanley Kubrick film, but it is excellent stuff. It's probably one of the best satires out there as well. It's really, really fucking good.
Yay! I mean, I knew it was really good, and everyone was going to say it's really good. That's not why I picked it. That's not. I wouldn't do that to you, Dave. Yeah, I love Doctor Strangelove too. I think whether it's your favorite Kubrick or not, it's essential in understanding Kubrick, because I think it's been a quarter of a century of like, is this person the new Stanley Kubrick? And they're not. They never are, because these people the people pick to possibly be the new Kubrick, they're always like 100% focused on the technicality of his films, like the cold technicality of his films, and they kind of totally miss what made him such a great filmmaker. They miss his range and his humanity and definitely his humor. He was a funny guy, and there might be people since Kubrick passed who could make some kind of approximation of 2001 or Clockwork Orange, something vaguely close, but none of them are going to make those films as a follow-up to the greatest absurdist comedy of all time. No one has the range like he had, and he's just. I mean, I've seen this before. I really like it. I really liked it every time, but I was just kind of awed this time around. Like, that Kubrick pivoted from straight drama to comedy is just one of the most genius moves of all time, because the more absurd this film gets, the more terrifying it is. Like, a straight drama it never would have been anywhere near as terrifying as this version of it. It's absolutely horrifying at points. Because I know if there's going to be some sort of apocalyptic event, it's not going to be some kind of shadowy cabal of evil geniuses. It's going to be, we're going to die because of the sexual dysfunction of a handful of quite stupid men. That's how we'll go. And somehow, Stanley Kubrick, he already knew that, because this is scarily prescient. Like, this is, no one used the term toxic masculinity back then, but Kubrick's right into it, and I feel like this was before its time in 1964, but given how we have learned nothing, it's probably before its time in 2025. It's probably always going to be before its time because no one's paying attention. And
Did you?
I love how he. Sorry, carry on.
I don't mean to interrupt, but did you go see the stage version they just did in England?
I can't afford that.
All
I
right.
would love to because Steve Coogan's like a hero of mine.
Yeah,
because
it just
mostly
ended.
due to Alan Partridge.
That's why I assumed that you'd run off to see it. So, but my bad.
No, I can't afford it. It's a real shame. And I think the nearest thing to not Kubrick in his range, but making films like Doctor Strangelove, Armando Iannucci is as close as we have these days, making stuff like Inverloop and but Death of Stalin. They're the closest because this is a kind of a rare film. There aren't many movies like it. I think the Death of Stalin is probably the closest I've seen, even as different as it is. But yeah, I love how he keeps so much of what would work in a drama as well, like the cinematography, the set design, especially the soundtrack to this. He keeps all of these things that you would put in a straight drama because they supercharge the absurdity right the way through. They just make it so much more ridiculous. It's and every time it becomes more ridiculous, it becomes more terrifying. It's it's incredible. Like yeah, I love Peter Sellers. I think he is extraordinary. Like each character shines. Like every conversation between Mandrake and Ripper is gold. Uh Muffley. No one's mentioned Muffley. Muffley's phone. Well, they've mentioned the character, but not the name, the extraordinary name. Muffley's phone conversations with Dimitri are fantastic, and I believe those are like all improvised because you know Sellers was a genius, and I truly believe that Doctor Strangelove fighting his hand in the third act is one of the greatest pieces of physical comedy in cinematic history. It is incredible. Um, I think there are another two performers who are just as great. I think one is arguably even better. Like I think Sterling Hayden is incredible. He's got crazy dripping from every pore on his body. How is he RFK? How like it's frightening how prescient this film is. It's frightening how accurate it is to this day. It's like he had a crystal ball. It's crazy. And George C. Scott is like he's revelatory for me. Like Kubrick, he's just showing extraordinary range in this. Like it's just one of my favorite comic performances of all time. Like his face contorts in ways that he didn't even know were possible until he went to the premiere of his own film and thought, oh, my face does that. And then the fall is just, it's just a beautiful moment. I absolutely love George C. Scott in this. And quick mention, there's an actress called Tracy Reed. She's only got one scene, but she does the perfect that perfect kind of friendly but detached secretary delivery of the message about the end of the world, which is another element that just really feeds into the absurdity. The screenplay is hilarious. It's just like belly laughs all the way through. Like everything involving Dimitri is amazing. Like one of the first things that he says is, "I can't hear too well. Could you please turn down the music a little?" And it sets such a scene. And of course, I like to say hello, Dimitri. It just cracks me up. The string in my leg has gone. This quote from Mandrake just always creases me up. Nuclear combat toe to toe with the Ruskies is just a funny line on multiple levels. Like I think lots of people think this is because it's Kubrick. This would be very clever, like elevated kind of humor. But the president is called Merkin Muffley. His name is Merkin Muffley. Like it is very broad at times. This film, very, very broad and very, very funny. Like Kubrick's favorite actor of all time is Leonard Rossiter. So you know, he enjoys comedy. I can imagine Kubrick in his pants watching Rising Damp and cackling to himself on a Friday night. I love it. I love it. It's weird. It's like a film about how nothing works and yet everything in it works. Like it's the phrase where I don't know whether to laugh or cry. This film is Kubrick kind of saying, why not both? Laugh and cry, and the absurdity makes it terrifying. the terror and realizing where it came from made it more absurd, and just round and round it goes until the very end, where it just lands on cry because we've learned nothing, absolutely nothing. So yeah, I love it. It's funny, it's smart, it's profound, very very prescient. It's very human pacifist cinema. It's a film where every shot fired in this kind of war film is essentially friendly fire, because when you think about it, every shot in every war is essentially friendly fire when when your boots are on the ground. And yes, Stanley Kubrick, he knew that and just made a really brilliant film. I love it. It's a 10 for me. It's not my favorite Kubrick. That's probably The Killing, just because it speaks to my personal taste. But it's magnificent. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. All right. You're making me do Ricky-Oh? Okay.
Yeah,
Ricky-Oh.
that's how it works, man.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Ricky-Oh is about a young man who has superhuman strength. He's incarcerated in a private prison where inmates are treated like slaves. He is forced to use his unstoppable form of martial arts to destroy the corrupt officials and their lackeys. Look, I'd be lying if I said I liked this movie. I did not, but I can appreciate some stuff in here more than most of the stuff we watched on this show. This isn't like a hundreds of beavers kind of deal where the whole movie is just insufferable shit. I'll start with the things I did enjoy. The gore was a lot of fun. It looks terrible, but sure, that's the fucking point. It's a splatter fest, and they totally went for that shit, and for that, I can appreciate it. It's like a gory ass live action anime come to life on screen. This is an anime, right? Or a comic book? It's a comic book, right?
It is a comic book, and there was an anime adaptation that came out like a year before the movie, the live action.
Oh, okay.
But maybe
Yeah, it
just a
feels
few
like
months. They were around the same time.
It feels like it, and it is the perfect representation of a live action anime come to life on screen. And Strangling with Intestines will never not be fucking awesome. It's so wonderfully violent in the goofiest, most cartoony way possible, gleefully so. And the movie itself has this like crazy, just bonkers energy, which is something also I can easily appreciate. But again, if this was a short, I would have liked it. But as a feature, for me, it just kind of wears out its welcome really fast. I mean, throw as much gore as you want on the screen. After a while, the novelty just kind of wears thin. But at the same time, everything that's not gore is just kind of boring. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Because I would probably watch a supercut of the gore scenes over and over again on YouTube, because the gore scenes were a lot of fun. It's just everything else was just kind of middle of the road. But I didn't hate it. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I did not hate it. When I really expected not to like this movie as much, because people seem to love it, and I just thought it was one of those so bad it's good B movies, and it is that, but it's not nearly as awful as something like Miami Connection or anything like that. So, as a narrative feature, I'd pass, but as just a gory supercut, it's a blast. So, 50-50. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I end up quite in line with Tyler on this one. I had fun with it, but generally I had fun with it in the way that I expected to, with scenes I'd already seen shared elsewhere, because they're the highlights. They're the extreme gore, they're the ridiculous fight moments. They're just, yeah, they're memorable, and that's why people share them around and say, "Have you seen this insane shit? It's insane." I don't like. There was nothing beyond that for me. It didn't. It didn't come together well. There is the standard sort of, fighting back against corrupt prison system storyline in there, but that's really almost unnecessary. there's also the intro about the sort of business line in prisons now. I don't know, it felt like it added nothing to the film for me. I was like, oh, is this some kind of RoboCop vibe that I'm unaware of when we get really into the film? And then it never seemed to really explore that in a way that was like meaningful or again added anything around the, you could put this together and just have all the awesome and ridiculous fight scenes with no need to mention any plot details that aren't really going to come back in later. It felt strange to me because it felt like it was setting up stuff that was just then like completely ignored, but in such a way that I was just like, why do it? Just pack in the fights and the crazy gore. Just go for it. Just put this character in a prison, give him some backstory that can still make him be, a hero or an anti-hero in the midst of this madness, and go crazy. That's good enough for me. It would be good enough for anyone watching this. Nobody watches Riki-Oh, the story of Ricky, and then comes away complaining about like having not enough solid plotting around the fights to make it a meaningful social commentary on whatever they want to do. It's just get rid of it. Get rid of that and just have the action and the insanity. So I did like those bits. Tyler already mentioned the intestines, memorable. But you'll have seen clips of those elsewhere all around by now. So I enjoyed it, but it was just okay. It's another one of those films as well that suffers from, I think, an inability to truly escalate. Like it does escalate slightly, but it starts off at a level of madness and gore that it doesn't really have much further to go. So like this is it. And then that's what you get throughout. So that makes it slightly, it lessens the impact. It makes it slightly dull in the middle section when you're waiting for one final big fight, really. So I'm sorry, Dave, but on the plus side, it's, at least it got paired up against Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah.
Well, I think me and Dave put too much faith in our like real life friendship algorithms. Like, I don't know what's happening. I just assumed that everyone I know, not like family, not my nan or anything like that, but I assumed that everyone I knew outside, especially on Facebook, would really enjoy Ricky-Oh, and I assumed that anyone who wouldn't enjoy it had been cut out of my life, and I don't need that unwarranted negativity. Well, I mean, I don't know what's not to enjoy. Like as a gore movie, you couldn't ask for more because gore movies, most gore movies waste so much fucking time between like 2 or maybe 3 decent gore gags. There's so much filler, and Ricky-Oh never stops. Just relentless carnage from the first minute or so, and every other minute there's just faces cut off and eyes pops out and heads crushed. It's a gorehound's banquet. It's beautiful and it's really well done. Like beyond the special effects, and I love the special effects. Some of them are like rubbery as fuck, but that's all part of the fun. Like the way this is shot and edited is really, really quite. It's clever. They use the same editing techniques they use to give like kung fu fights, the requisite punch, but they do it with gore gags and they do it really well. That face where just the bottom half of it gets cut off is so well set up and so well edited, and the sound design that goes with it is so good as well. It's expertly done gore, and I really love that about it. And there's another element. There's one other element that makes it work. It's not just gore for me. I mean, that's 90% of it, but it's the cast as well. Like the villains are great. I really love the villains because they get to be quite winky with it. Like the warden is like it's a classic Hong Kong villain, like arch flamboyant evil, but it's the deputy warden, the deputy Tyler, the deputy warden with his prominently displayed VHS porno collection. How are you not loving this film? How are you
I
not
don't
in
know.
love with this film? I thought you would be, man. That is such a gross, pathetic worm of a character. Like I absolutely love him, but the one that what really works for me is the lead, Lewis Fan, and it's I don't think anyone else would get this, but this film weirdly reminds me of The Naked Gun in that Lewis Fan plays everything in this film as serious as a fucking heart attack. Like everything on screen at all points is ridiculous, just ludicrous fucking shit happening all the time, and he is playing it like it is the most serious thing he has ever done. Like this is he's in Schindler's List. He is just definitely fucking serious, and it just makes everything hilarious. Like he is worth his weight in gold, and I assume like his weight in gold is a lot because he is ripped as fuck. But just a combination of those two is enough. But there turned out to be another element I liked because I don't know if the original script is any good. It might be like beautiful, poetic loveliness. I don't know because Prime only gave me the option of the dub, but that was fine with me because this is a classic, fucking classic Hong Kong dub. It's got all the hits. Like people saying ridiculous stuff like Rogan's Kung Fu is unorthodox. No one talks like that. And every bad person being called a lousy bastard. They love to call people a lousy bastard in old Hong Kong movies. It's just their stock insult, and it's just a really classic, Hong Kong dub. It's everything you could want from a dub. So Ricky O is kind of everything I want from cinema, or at least this subsection of cinema that's really weird and gory and absurd and strangely serious. Like it's just got so much great stuff. It's got some really great. It's got some really great frolicking flashbacks. It's got guy tying his tendons back together. You got junkies shooting soy sauce by the looks of it. Got all timer dummy drop, spectacular dummy drop. Nobody in this film uses a door. Just burst through a wall in prison. Fuck you. It's just I loved it. It's like a classic of its own weird genre. I would double bill this with Turkey Shoot any night of the week and just have the best fucking time. I love Ricky O.
I also love Ricky O, and I don't know what the fuck is wrong with two of you guys. The cast is great, as Craig had said. Louis Fan is wonderful. Here's a fun fact. Do you know that he and the assistant warden are family?
Oh,
The assistant warden's his dad in real life.
what?
Yeah, Fan Mai Xing, who played Cyclops Dan, the assistant warden, is Ricky O's papa.
Oh, well now I like it even more.
Karku Ho plays the warden, and he is a blast. He's one of those actors that popped up in, I think he has like 130 credits. He's in the Infernal Affairs movies. He's in God, what else is he in? He's in like a ton of shit. I'm just it's been a long fucking week. He's in a lot of really good stuff that I'm actually surprised we haven't covered more that he's in. The rest of the cast is really good. They're really fun. The body horror aspects are pretty on point. The effects are generally great. This is a movie that was introduced to me and many people close to my age by The Daily Show. Do you know how that happened?
Nope.
So the Daily Show ends every episode with the moment of Zen, and for the first 2 to 5 years of it, the moment of Zen was Tarzan crushing someone's head. And that's how Riki-Oh gained footing in the U.S. Which is as ridiculous as the film itself. The film's an absolute joy. I don't know how to express how crushingly disappointed I am that I expected Tyler not to enjoy it because I know T, and I know when things won't land for him, and something that strikes me as hilarious is probably not going to land for T generally, and that's fine.
He's not the bad guy anymore with his Doctor Strangelove pick.
Yep.
And Dave's favourite.
but I'm a little sad. I'm a little sad with Kevin, but whatever. I think he's just angry because I disagreed with him on the Conclave. But whatever.
No,
whatever.
I
see how it is. I get it. I get it.
Like it. I just didn't love it.
Even though it is a classic of modern cinema, but no, that's fine. That's fine. Vicky will love it. You should share it with Vicky.
I mean, no, not gonna happen. She's already given me too many funny looks over the past year, seeing me going to effedupmovies.com for the next Tyler choice.
I'll say that one of the clouds of living alone and always being alone is nobody judges me for Tyler picks.
Yeah. But this director, though, I think maybe it's maybe to do with exposure to the clips as well. Because I think I slightly preferred The Seventh Curse, which is from this director, which is a different kind of Mad Mix, but actually has everything mixed in that feels as if it's properly mixed in, if that makes sense, without stuff just set up at the start and then generally dismissed.
Well,
have you seen The Seventh Curse?
I have. It's been a while. I just think it's a shame they didn't get into some of the later Riki-Oh storylines.
Mm-hmm.
Like, eventually, Ricky has to fight a robot copy of himself, and to survive that, he has to burrow into its chest and be rebirthed from a robot of himself. I mean, like the comic gets weird in all the best ways. But it's time to pick one, and I know where this is going, so I will be the first one to say it. It's obviously Doctor Strangelove because it's fucking Doctor Strangelove.
I mean, I'm going for Doctor Strangelove too, but I will say that if I was judging them both on what they are and in terms of what they tried to do, I could put them kind of even, but it's judging them on any other merit is Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, Doctor Strangelove.
Doctor Strangelove, yeah.
I wish you guys had just kept it up in sync there. That would have just been perfect.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Next week it's as always, it's Kevin and Tyler's turn to pick. But also, we're doing our end of the month special. Is it a little early? It's February. Is it? It's not actually early. It will be the last Sunday of the month. In three weeks, which will also coincide with our 400th episode.
I mean, not mine, but can I
well,
join
like
in?
Ours, as in
my 100th episode,
the royal ours. I might actually. I'm not going to count it. I was like, maybe I'll count how many Craig. No, I'm not going to do that. I have other things to do.
I was always here in spirit.
Sleep. Always here in spirit. Yeah. So that counts. So to celebrate 400 episodes, we're all going to pick a movie that's very us. So, guys, what is your pick for next weekend? What is your very you movie. If you're ready, if you're not, we can wait a week with bated breath.
No, I've got both. Tyler's not going to like my pick next week, so you can take some comfort in that, because we will be watching 2023's The Three Musketeers, D'Artagnan. I believe that is the first of the two that were released. And then for my special, because you continue to mock me for unfounded reasons, I decided that the best pick to exemplify all that is Kevin is the film called Seven.
I even wrote that with a little 7 instead of a V. Is that movie a 7 on the Kevmometer? Is it a 7.7? Is it the highest rating possible?
It could be 7.7 out of 7. You never know.
So next week we're watching a documentary, you guys. It's a very, Tylerific documentary, but it's a documentary all the same. And there's 3 of them. So we're starting with the beginning. We're watching Stripped, Las Vegas, which is about a group of Las Vegas strippers. Am I saying my special pick, or are we waiting? All right, so my special pick, I am going with a movie that is about white trash crime. Just tons of just filthy white trash, and there's trailer parks and strip clubs and drugs. We're watching Let Me Make You a Martyr, directed by John Swab.
Hi.
The movie that proves that John doesn't know what a murder actually is. Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm hyped. I'm hyped for this 3 weekend special. It's going to be fantastic. There'll be tears. There'll be joy.
Never heard anyone lie to themselves so with such
Such a sincere liar. We're on Instagram, Raiders_of_the_podcast. We're on Facebook, where Kevin has to remind me to post stuff on Wednesdays, so they come up on Thursday or Friday. We have a YouTube channel where you can subscribe, comment on Kevin's awesome videos weekly. We have a Discord where I still have not posted any cock pics just yet, but they are coming. Coming, spelling CUMMING. We have a Blue Sky, and you can always email us, getraiders@gmail.com.
As always, thanks for joining me, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
Yay! See you next week, guys.
See ya.
Yay.